Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. You are listening to the live podcast for the Sons to Fathers Nugget devotional. Now, I won't be live long, but there is something that's been on my heart ever since I've read it that I think I needed to share. I feel as though there's some men out there that need to hear this particular podcast, so I'm going to share it, even right now on Facebook and on LinkedIn. That way, you'll be able to connect with me and be able to chat live if you want to. So, with that in mind, today I want to talk about something that I read a few days ago about a letter. I read about an open letter to a guy that said he hated being a dad. Now I know that blows some people's mind, but let's talk reality here. Those things are real. There are so many people out there that hates being a dad. I'm not one of those. I enjoy being a dad. I live for being a dad, and I hope you do too. So today, this live show is brought to you with that in mind. And I want to read this letter to you, this open letter to the guy that said, I hate being a dad. So with that in mind, let's just get right into it. Again, I'm live now on Facebook with this particular podcast. So if you want to chime in, feel free to chime in and holler at me. Let me know what you think. I appreciate everyone that's been downloading the podcast, that's been supporting me in these podcasts. I really, really do. It's been such a blessing to me. I'm sitting here trying to respond to some people now. So with that in mind, I want to tell you thank you so very, very much for your support. You see, being a dad isn't easy, and these nuggets that come from me with these Sons of Father nuggets are usually, or 98% of the time, they're coming from my personal experiences as a dad. So with that in mind, I can almost attest, I used to be able to attest to what this guy is feeling in this letter to this guy. So with that in mind, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. Again, this is the open letter to a guy that hates being a dad. And if that's you, I want you to understand that the grass is not always greener on the other side. It really isn't. So, the letter, I was updating my Facebook page and answering some calls, just in case somebody wanted to get in on the action today with the live podcast. With that in mind, here we go. It says, I recently came across, and this is the reading directly from the post, so it's a quote. And with it being a quote, I want to make sure that they get credit for it. And it's coming from B.J. Foster. He is the one that typed this letter out. And it reads this: Dear Sir, I recently came across your post describing how you hated being a dad. After reading the comments on your post and doing a simple Google search, I can see that you are not alone. I'm going to pause there. Just to keep you in mind, I did the same thing. I wanted to see and take a comparison of how many people, I even looked it up, different emails, different blogs, different things, letters to people that, well, not letters to people, but letters from people that stated that they hated being a dad. I'm sorry, but this is a very harsh podcast for me because it's hard for me to understand how anyone can hate being a father. I mean, I know there was a time where I did not like being a father, but I didn't hate being a father. I didn't like it because that was when we were selfish and we didn't like things. Um, but there comes a time where you have to learn to put those things away, and I'm just glad that God sent somebody along to help me understand that being a father is such a glorious and such a wonderful opportunity. Um, I'm responding to someone right now that's listening live. Kind of. There we go. All right. Sorry. Let me continue with this letter. Um, I'm going to start all over. Dear Sir, I recently came across your post describing how you hated being a dad. After reading the comments on your post and doing a simple Google search, I can see that you are not alone. Even those who've always wanted to be fathers often don't anticipate how difficult it is to be a parent. It's an overwhelming shock to the system. The fact that you never wanted to be a dad in the first place, as you explained, clearly makes your situation even worse. Let me start by saying I appreciate your honesty. Most wouldn't even admit feeling like you do to themselves, let alone to others. Secondly, and most importantly, I commend you for not abandoning your family despite your feelings. However, going through life with an attitude of I hate being a dad will be detrimental to you and your children. There needs to be a change. In order for your life as a dad to be different, you need to recognize the following truths that are missing, and these are coming from me now. Gaining freedom also means gaining loneliness. It is going to be lonely sometimes as a father. There's going to be times as a dad that your kids and your kids or your spouse isn't going to want to be near you. It's going to be lonely. But guess what? That's what we talked about a few days ago by having an outlet. Now, right now, the grass looks greener. Your old single life is calling. It was a life without responsibilities. You want it back. However, it is important to remember the full picture of what you would gain if your wish were granted, or if you were able to turn back time and make different decisions. Think about that. Some people say that the grass is greener on the other side. I was telling a coworker the other day that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes it's fake grass. You want greener grass? Then you need to go back and nourish what you already have. You need to cultivate it, take care of it, feed it, add nourishment to it. That's how you make your grass greener. Now, that was the first thing. Now, I want you to understand. You may gain your freedom, but you would lose the companionship of your family and the daily love from your kids. In essence, you would gain loneliness. The grass is never as green as we think it is. But I want you to understand that you need to be grateful for what you do have in your own yard. And that goes along with your wife, with your financial situation, those types of things. You need to be grateful for those things that you have right now. And if you want something better, nourish what you have. That way you can get a return on that seed that you plant. You can't gain a return if you don't plant anything. You can't get a harvest if you don't if you don't plant anything. If you don't sow anything, how can you reap something? People always talk about, I want grass green on the other side. How is that possible if you don't nourish what you got? If you planted the seed by saying I do, let's say your marriage, you planted the seed by saying I do, and by planting a seed, I mean by planting, sharing your vows. That's planting a seed. How can you reap a harvest if you don't nourish that seed? I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. I'm just saying. How can you reap a harvest on a seed that you planted at the altar if you don't nourish that seed. So the grass is not always greener on the other side. Trust and believe. Been there, done that, lived it, bought the shirt, couldn't afford the hat. Anyway, number 2, spend focused time mourning and then start living. You're probably wondering what I'm talking about, right? Well, the scripture tells us it's a time to plant, it's a time to reap, it's a time to laugh, time to mourn. It's a time to plant, and then there's a time to pluck up that which is planted. It's a time to dance, and a time just to sit back. But I wanted to let you know today that you need a time to mourn, and then you need to start living. Mourn what, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. It's time to say goodbye to your old life. Yes. You, my man of God, super dad, the grown man that's listening to this podcast right now, it is time to say goodbye to your old life. It is never coming back. But first, spend some time mourning it. Mourn the life where you were free to do whatever you wanted because people weren't depending on you. Write down all the things you loved about that life. Allow yourself to feel every emotion about it, the good and the bad. Now, when you have mourned it fully, in other words, when you have wrote down everything and got all your emotions out, take the list of your old life and burn it. Get rid of it. Burn it. Torch it. Throw it in the fire that you are sitting next to along with your family. Yeah, a little bonfire, in the evening, because, it's that season. You sit outside and start a fire. Yeah, why not? Burn that list. Now embrace your new life. This crazy, demanding, exhausting, big, beautiful life as a super dad. Now, I am live, so again, if you want to chime in on this, feel free to chime in. Feel free to hit me up on Facebook if you want to comment. There's a post. I just shared the post, so if you want to hit me up on that. If not, message me or text me. Either way, I'm here. If you want to chat about it, just click on the link and say chat. I'm here. Let's chat. All right. Let's see what else. We need to embrace it. Yes, embrace this crazy life as a super dad. Why? Because there's someone watching you do this. It takes 2 to make those kids, and it's going to take 2 to raise those kids, and you don't want them going down the same road that you went, knowing how you feel right now. So how do we change that? By changing our mindset, changing our perception on being a father, changing our outlook on being a father or a super dad. Okay? We have to embrace it. Embrace what? Embrace being a super dad. We have to do that for these next set of reasons. Any life of significance involves sacrifice, suffering, and challenges to overcome. Now think about a book, some book that you've ever read, or think about every book that you've ever read, including the Bible. Any movie that you've ever seen, or story you've ever heard that you thoroughly enjoy, that you really, 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 really enjoyed, that it hit you. I guarantee the main characters dealt with the trial and difficulty. I guarantee they did. That they dealt with trial and difficulty and hardships. Double thoughts, double thinking themselves, second thoughts on things. Just watch it and pay attention. My wife would tell you I love the movies, but she gets mad at me when I start finding inconsistencies in movies. But how many of us as fathers, as super dads, have inconsistencies that sometimes cause us to feel this way? There is hope